everybody. Welcome to Vikings Report Rewind. My name is Ted Glover, your humble host. With me, as always, are my partners in crime, Christopher Gates, the founder, lead blogger, and numero uno honcho of the Minnesota Vikings SB Nation website, the Daily Norseman at dailynorseman.com. And below me, my partner in crime with Vikings Report with Drew and Ted. He is the one, the only, the Jim Harbaugh worshiping cheater, Drew Pudding. 22-17, 3-4 this weekend. Couldn't have worked out better for our beloved Minnesota Vikings. Drewster, go.
Play that fucking music, white boy. Play it right, Ted. Play it right. This is the win we needed to catapult us.
Yes, it was. Chris, can somebody shut everybody up about Kirk Cousins in prime time with his 2-10 on Monday Night Football? He threw for damn near 400 yards. If it wasn't for Kirk Cousins, the Minnesota Vikings do not win this game. Agree or disagree?
Absolutely. I mean, dude was spectacular tonight, man. He was moving around. He didn't have he had the one bad pass at the beginning of the game, but he came back from that and he was just he was great tonight. I mean, I don't know how you could put it any other way. He was incredible.
Welcome, everybody. Ted, is there a lot of happy people in that chat coming through?
It's like Christmas morning, brother.
Woo!
Look, folks, first of all, welcome. If you're new to the show and you're just joining us for the first time, welcome. We've only got a few people in the chat room right now, but by the end of the night, we will have 100, maybe 200, and we will be giving away a prize. All you got to do is comment in the live section, in the live comment section. Just say hi, hello, Skull Vikings, whatever it is you want to do. You'll be entered to win a prize from our VikingsReport.com website. Ruby handles the website and handles the prizes. Anyways, so just enter and say hi, man. I'll tell you what. When this week started,
all right,
I was my head told me the Vikings were going to get run out of the stadium. My heart told me as the week went by, look, they got a chance to win this game. And if they win, and Drew, you and I talked about this on Vikings Report, our preview show, that if they could win, this could really be a catapult for the rest of the season. And with the way the rest of the weekend worked out with the Lions getting pantsed by Baltimore, Jordan Love being more inaccurate than stormtroopers when he throws the football. Folks, we got a brand new ball game in the NFC North.
Yes, we do, and we talked about it. And Kevin O'Connell had the best play calling game that he's had all season.
I would agree.
He was starting drives with throwing the ball. The only problem with his play calling was the inside the 5 stuff tonight. But since he won, I'm not going to bust his nuts too hard about that. But he had some great play calls tonight, and he kind of changed up a little bit. So I have to give him – I've been pretty tough on him all year. That was his best play. He needed that kind of effort against the 49ers. I'm really happy with the play calling. Have to work on the red zone play calling. But the Vikings got it done, and they played tough all game. They had a couple defensive, brain farts, but the defense played great again, Ted. The defense held the Niners to 17 and won the game.
I believe the Vikings forced 3 turnovers on Brock. Well, between Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One of the big differences in the game I wanted to mention was when the 49ers threw that first pick to Bynum.
Uh-huh.
Up till this point in the season, the Vikings go 3 and out and punt it.
Yes.
They had somewhat of a dagger drive, picking up a couple first down because they were passing the ball, the one to Addison to give us the first down.
Yeah.
And I got to hand it to KOC. That's how you play it. And he wasn't playing it like that up to this point. He wasn't.
No.
He was running it in the middle with Addison and all that stuff. But that was a dagger drive. I know they had to they missed the field goal, but still, that 4 or 5 minute span is what you got to do. And he did it.
Yeah. That's I don't know how I want to approach this, but
it's kind of like what Drew says every week. I mean, Drew says every week or most weeks that the Vikings don't start getting aggressive until they're down by 2 scores. And KOC didn't do that tonight. Dude was aggressive all game long. I mean, we saw that after the Niners were forced to punt at the beginning of the second half. They came out and they were slinging it all over the field. Unfortunately, it didn't result in touchdowns because of some of the rough play calling down inside the 5 or whatever else happened there. But, it wasn't, run, pass, punt like it has been a lot of other times this season. They wanted to push the ball down the field, and that's what they did. And it almost looked like the Niners weren't expecting it. I mean, they were expecting the 3 yards in a cloud of field turf or whatever it was going to be. But, they kept pushing the ball downfield, and it just didn't look like the Niners were ready for it.
Trooper 88 says end of Groundhog Day, Skull. If you didn't catch our pregame show this week, Drew and I highlighted Groundhog Day because it just kind of every Vikings game was the same up to this point this year.
What about the guy from Ireland that said it's 4 a.m. and he's watching? Let's give a shout out to that guy.
I didn't see that. Congratulations. Who was that guy? Ruby, can you put that comment back up?
Put it back up. Darren Walsh, Degran Walsh, or
anyways, yeah.
Bono Vox or whatever. Bono Vox with the guy from U2.
Durrell Walsh, 418 in Ireland. Thank God they held on. Look, man, I don't know if we can ship internationally, but give that dude a prize for being up at 4 a.m. to watch this game.
Hell yeah. What a gamer.
Ted, you and I both know what it's like to try to watch football games from that far overseas. It hurts a lot.
It's an effort, man. Yeah. You just kind of accept the fact that the next day is going to be completely wasted because you're going to be absolutely worthless at work or whatever it is you're going to do.
Yeah, you're shot on Monday morning after a game like this most of the time. But yeah.
Yeah, and some other dude, Digital NB, says it's 6 a.m. here in Greece. I'm sorry you were second. Look, man, you can't ride the coattails of the dude in Ireland. I appreciate the fact that you're up at 6 a.m. I love you, but we can only give away one prize. I don't even know if we can do this internationally, but see what we can do.
I'm going to guess that guy in Ireland is not sober right now.
Kyle, I'm not sober right now, and it's only like 10:30 where I am.
Either am I. I'm kind of tipsy, so.
But Greece is the word, Ted.
It's a word that you heard. Go ahead.
Got it done, guys. Let's break it down. How did they get it done? What are your main points, Ted Glover?
Okay, here's the thing that I want to talk about. First of all, the Vikings got the ball first. Third play from scrimmage, the Vikings turned the ball over. Kirk throws a bad interception. And I will say, we talk about the Vikings not being able to play complementary football this year. Right after the Vikings turned the ball over, the 49ers had the ball, and the defense forced a turnover when Christian McCaffrey fumbled. And I thought to myself, oh, okay, this kind of might be a shift in the universe or whatever it is you want to call. And the Vikings got the ball. They actually got some luck and recovered a fumble. And then they went right down and scored a touchdown. And this is when I thought, you know what, Chris, this game might be a little bit different. I don't know what you guys were thinking. Chris, you start, and then Drew, you finish.
No, I mean, it was, like you said, that third play from scrimmage, Cousins throws the interception on what was kind of a bad pass. I mean, Addison was not open at any point during that route, and he tried to force it in there anyway. And you really get that feeling of, crap, here we go again, because this is the 4th time in 7 games that the Vikings have turned the ball over on their first possession, which is not good. It's difficult to win football games that way. But, they had the defense step up. I think it was I can't remember. I think it was Harrison Smith that forced the fumble. It might have been Bynum that stood McCaffrey up and knocked it loose. But, like you said, I know we talked during the offseason about how we kind of hoped that the Vikings defense would get it, the new Brian Flores scheme, kind of in the second half of the season toward the end of the year.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if they're not already there.
Yeah. Drew, I don't know about you. You've kind of been praising the defense for the last 2 or 3 weeks, if not longer. And I was kind of, I don't know. I mean, they were better. Granted, I'm not going to deny that, but I think tonight they won this football game. I mean, for as great as Kirk Cousins played, the defense won this football game.
I would have to agree with that, Ted. And the thing I've liked about the defense is the last 3 weeks, since you mentioned that, was the fact that they are switching it up and they're playing each week with more intensity. They're taking more chances. They're hitting guys a little harder. I mean, they still have some missing tackles, but look what Flores has done with a bunch of guys who haven't played together. A lot of these guys haven't played together. Some have played together, but the defense, if you say, like Chris said, they're ahead of the game. I didn't expect to see this defense till like week 10. The Vikings defense is good, and people aren't giving them credit, and you're going to have to start giving them credit. The offense did enough to help the defense tonight, but something that Chris says, one of these moments of here we go again. Every Vikings game, I have like 13 of those. Every game. Don't you guys? Here it goes again.
Absolutely.
We've seen it so many times, but the defense is really coming together. They are playing situational football. They're stopping them when they got to stop them. And I want to give a shout out, like a lot of people are in these comments about the O-line. Did we give up no sacks to the Niners?
None.
Right?
Nope.
Zero.
None.
Hats off to the O-line tonight.
If you look, I'm going to go rewatch this game. And if you look back, I think for as much garbage as we have given the Minnesota Vikings offensive line, Chris, and justifiably so in many instances, this offensive line this year is not bad. They are borderline good. You have two elite tackles in Christian Darrisaw and Brian O'Neill. Ezra Cleveland, I would argue, is better than league average. He was injured tonight, but Dalton Reisner played very well. Ed Ingram, I harped all offseason about, look, you have got to let these guys play together, and continuity is a big deal, and blah, blah, blah. And now it's starting to show off, and Garrett Bradbury is good. So, Chris, I don't know where all the haters are, but they could put that in their pipe and smoke it for all I don't care. I don't know. I just go talk.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
And I didn't really get an opportunity to focus a lot on the offensive line, but I didn't hear Nick Bosa's name called very many times this evening.
Not one friggin' time tonight.
No, whether if he was going, I think I saw him a lot of the time on Brian O'Neill, and Brian O'Neill was handling him. Brian O'Neill had no, and I don't think O'Neill was getting any help most of the time either. I think he was one-on-one with Nick Bosa, and he stonewalled that dude all night. I mean, we've said all year that the Vikings had the tackles figured out because Brian O'Neill is great. Christian Darrisaw is great. Christian Darrisaw is one of the best tackles in the league already. But, we were always skeptical about the interior, and now it looks like they might have the interior figured out too.
Yeah.
And if they have the entire offensive line figured out, and you give Kirk Cousins enough time in the pocket, we've always said if Cousins has enough time, he will shred defenses to pieces. And that's what happened tonight against one of the NFL's best.
Drew, before I go back to you folks, we got almost 150 people in our chat room.
Yeah.
If you want to be eligible for one of our prizes, just go ahead and make a comment in the live chat. You'll be eligible at the end of the show to win a prize. Toonses, our beloved Toonses, is behind the scenes making all this happen. She's writing down names. She's like Santa Claus. She's
sitting over here with a big grin on her face,
making a list, checking it twice. Going to find out if you're naughty or nice. And if you're naughty, as long as you make a comment, you'll be eligible to win. We're going to spin a wheel at the end of the show, and you'll be able to a chance to win a prize. Drew, great point about Kirk and the Vikings. And I want to go back to the end of the game where the Vikings had the football and they started to drive. And Greg Joseph missed that 50-yard field goal. It was like 22-17. I will say, for once, the Minnesota Vikings, instead of going 3 and out, at least managed to get a couple of first downs and bleed the clock down and get into position to at least, I don't want to say put the game away, but would you have passed the ball there, or did you like the fact that he ran it and
went
for the field goal?
You can't pass the ball there. I mean, I may be an idiot and just a base player, but one thing I've studied over the years with football coming down to an end of a game, you have to use the clock in conjunction with your play calls. When they came back with the third down play, I told Ruby they got to run it because running the time off the clock is more important than getting the first down. And I know, a lot of people say just pass it, get the first down, and end the game. But you got to look at what kind of team you're dealing with. You're dealing with the Niners, and I was happy with it. I was good with it. I kind of figured he was going to miss that field goal because he's Joseph and he's kind of a dick. and he screws us over anytime he can. He does. He just he's a buzzkill. So I kind of figured they would, but I like the Niners getting the ball with 1:20 rather than the full 2 minutes on an incomplete pass on third down. I think
and they had no timeouts. They had no timeouts when they got the ball back too, which is a big deal.
I think he played that right. I was hoping that it would run it. Maybe they'll break it for a first down, break it for a touchdown. But if you pass it there and it's incomplete, you're playing right into Shanahan's hands. And that extra 40 seconds could be the difference of the game.
If you complete it, though, the game's over, Chris.
Well,
I totally understand that, but I think I see where Drew's coming from here. I mean, in this day and age in the NFL, you expect your kicker to make that kick. You get him in position to make that kick. It's an 8-point game at that point if he puts it through. And, unfortunately he didn't. And, that was another here we go again moment, because you figure that the Niners are just going to march down the field and put the ball in the end zone, and we're all going to be pissed off all day tomorrow, but we're not, because Cam Bynum owns Brock Purdy. Let's just put it out there, because he kind of does with the 2 interceptions. He's going to wind up not getting Defensive Player of the Week somehow. I'm sure there's someone else they'll give it to other than him, but yeah, I can see where Drew's coming from here, because you running that time off the clock and giving the Niners as little time as possible to get down the field. That's the play there. I can understand throwing it too, but if you throw the incomplete pass, then you're in bigger trouble.
Hey, we're gonna go to the phones really quick. Willie from White Bear Lake, go ahead. Hey, this is Willie from White Bear Lake. I just think the Vikings should tank for Caleb. Thanks, long time, first time. I'll hang up and listen.
We're gonna trade Garrison now, right? We're gonna trade him.
Shut up, everybody who thinks the Vikings should tank. Go, Drew.
Your job on that last drive, Ted, with 5 minutes left, is to get a couple first downs, make the Niners burn their timeouts, and whatever happens, if you got a punt or whatever, you're giving them the ball back. It's hard in the NFL to drive the field in a minute because the clock doesn't stop with first downs like it does in college football.
Yeah.
The Vikings did exactly what they needed to do. They stayed aggressive, and they played that last drive perfectly, which is shocking to me. We don't play a lot of stuff perfectly, Chris Gates. So we did. I like how they played out the end of that drive. I think they used the right play calls. They ran the ball, and they. I don't know. What about that Niners corner that was covering Addison? That guy's a-hole's like this big now.
Let's talk about Jordan Addison, Chris.
He is becoming a weapon, Chris Gates.
I said this on social media during the game, and obviously it sucks that Justin Jefferson is out and that we're not going to see him again for 2 more weeks just because of what he does. But it's hard to kind of verbalize how much Jordan Addison is going to benefit from this, because he's the number one guy now. He's the one that they're giving him all the plays that they would give Jefferson, even down to the double pass that absolutely should not have been called back because of a garbage pass interference.
That call pissed me off.
That was terrible.
But he gets open like Justin Jefferson does. I can't wait to see what happens when they're both finally on the field together full time. But man, that catch at the end of the first half, that was some Randy Moss level stuff right there. Yeah. That was like the play. I saw it on so it was like 20 years ago this week that it happened. The Moss lateral to Mo Williams.
Yes.
Denver.
Yes.
That play by Addison at the end of the first half felt a lot like that play.
And Drew, Nelson Williams comments, and Addison wants that role. He does not shy away from it. And I think that is a really good point, because when a guy the caliber of Justin Jefferson goes out, somebody has to fill that void and step up. And we were wondering, was it going to be TJ Hawkinson? Was it going to be Alexander Madison or whoever, whatever? Somebody needed to fill that void. And we talked about this in our preview show, and Jordan Addison was that guy tonight. And like, I don't care what you think, but if you tell me the Vikings are going into next season with Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson and like whoever the quarterback is, I'm kind of okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's when JJ got hurt a couple weeks ago, I said to Ruby, and I think I said to you on the Vikings show that this is his time to shine. And I think the most impressive thing tonight, besides that tremendous play when he stole the ball and took it into the end zone before the half, watch that thing. You talk about not giving up on a pass, is the fact that he got hurt and he came back and he was still a big part of it. To me,
yes,
that shows when you got a receiver. And you know what? I'm telling you right now, Justin Jefferson is one of the happiest guys in that locker room right now. And if he can play with Addison next year, he knows that leaves a lot of openings for him. And Jefferson's very supportive. Addison has come forward, and I told Ruby this during the game. He's taken the first step to becoming that elite receiver. And it's unfortunate that JJ got hurt, but they're finding out now what Addison can do. Yeah. He's been able to do this the whole season, but they haven't been using him enough. He played great tonight.
We got a great comment here, and I think it's prizeworthy. We're going to vote on this. Is it prizeworthy or not? I just lost it in the comments. Here we go. Bobby Trader says, Jordan Addison is great. I can't wait for ESAT Nation wanting to trade him next year. ESAT Nation is everything sucks all the time. People that cannot be happy no matter what the Minnesota Vikings do. I want to vote, and it's got to be unanimous. Does Bobby Trader deserve a prize? Chris?
Absolutely.
Drew?
100%.
Bobby Trader, congratulations. You just won a prize. Get a hold of Ruby at VikingsReportDrew10@gmail.com.
The fact that he used one of our inventions with ESAT came from the show. That's us. It's Vikings Report.
Drew came up with that term. Everything sucks all the time. Our mascot, if you will, is Bob from Bloomington, some old-time vampire dude that just doesn't like anything. Yeah, I love it. All right.
You know, it's funny, Ted, when I hear ESAT on other shows.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've heard ESAT thrown around on some other shows, and I'm kind of take a little pride in that, Ted.
You should.
Also, I take some pride in who said Hawkinson's going to get 10 catches.
You did. It still did. I still did not win my fantasy game. # nobody cares about your fantasy team. I had. It doesn't matter. I lost by like half a point or whatever it was. Anyway,
what a win! I am so stoked right now. And
yeah,
I feel good right now.
As long as we're talking about wide receivers, let's talk a little bit about this Brandon Powell fella.
Yeah! Where is he from, Chris?
Yeah.
Dude, at the beginning of the season, I couldn't have picked Brandon Powell out of a lineup consisting of him and 4 of my coworkers. Honest to God. And now, dude is out. He had 4 catches for 64 yards tonight. He's stepped up. He's a legitimate number 3 guy now with
four clutch catches, Chris.
I think they all might have gone for first downs. I know.
Where did he come from?
Sure.
I don't even remember doing a draft write-up on that guy.
No, let me. I'll look him up. You guys can.
Yeah.
Where do you come from? Where do you go? Where do you come from? He's Cotton Eye Joe. I don't know.
He played great tonight. I'm glad we had him in there.
While Chris is looking up Brandon Powell, I want to talk about a little bit negative stuff. KJ Osborne had a big drop. Would have been on 3rd down. It would have been like a first down. Jared P says, "Where the hell was where the hell was KJ? And I hardly saw him. He made a couple of catches." The other thing that I can't still wrap my head around, is your Alexander Madison had some strong runs to start the game off.
Why is he in there?
But when it came down to it, Cam Akers still looked like the better back out there. Am I wrong on this, guys, or am I just nuts?
No.
What about Chandler? Ruby said,
Ty Chandler had a
Ruby said, what about Ty Chandler? I said, well, he got a 12-yard gain, so that gets you benched with KOC. You got that. He only touched the ball twice, and he had 2 great plays and that bullshit penalty they called, on that great throwback call on that play.
It was, and that was the one that was called back for offensive pass interference on KJ Osborne, which was something I didn't see it. I didn't see that.
Which was garbage.
You're right.
That was a garbage. Yeah, that was a garbage penalty call.
Brandon Powell, University of Florida, undrafted, 2018, has spent time with Detroit, Atlanta, Buffalo, Miami, the Rams. He was with the Rams when they won the Super Bowl. Had a 61-yard punt return for a touchdown against the Vikings in 2021. And after 2 years with the Rams, he's now in Minnesota with us. So that's his story.
So O'Connell connection.
So Chris, next time when a guy has played in the NFL that long, tell us who he hasn't played for.
It's a pretty short list.
Powell has a little bit of what's that bravado with him too.
Yeah.
He's got a little bit of attitude, and I like that. With a what is he, fourth string, fifth string wide receiver?
Nicholas Russon, Drew, you'll appreciate this. Nicholas Russon says, "Hey, look, we clearly need to draft guys from Michigan State and Ohio." I guess he's trying to piss us off. Nick, if we've ever given you a prize in the past, I want you to return that to Ruby. Get her return address. You're done. You're done. Get out. Get out. I'm kidding.
I don't want a Michigan State player, Ted.
Yeah.
It was great. I'd still like to hear your guys' overall thoughts on Madison going forward. I mean, if you ask me, he is not a running back. I'm sure he had a great opening run on the first play, but he's up the middle with no moves, Chris.
Go
ahead. Take on him, you guys.
Go ahead, Chris.
He doesn't quite have the moves that Akers does. It just seems like Akers is more explosive every time he touches the ball. Akers had one reception tonight, but it was a 30-yard catch, which is he must have had a second one for no gain, but he had that catch in the first half that wound up going for 30 yards. I believe that's helped set up a touchdown or a field goal. But and Ty Chandler has gotten his couple of opportunities and shown a little bit as well. So the wisdom behind Madison continuing to get the majority of the carries, I don't understand it. I mean, he's not as explosive as Akers or Chandler is, and he's had that propensity for putting the ball on the turf so far this year. It's been a couple of games since he's had a fumble, I think, but he showed it earlier on. But I don't get the wisdom of him continuing to be the number one back.
Jason Miller says the Vikings won't be sellers at the deadline, which I agree with. But Drew, going back to Alexander Madison really quick. Kind of going back to what Chris says. I just he's not a game breaker. I just unless he is better in pass protection, which I've kind of trying to be. I have been trying to pay attention to that more the last 2 to 3 games, thinking that was the reason. And I don't really see that either. I think Cam Akers is good enough in pass protection as Alexander Madison. I'm just not seeing a reason to play Madison over Akers or even Ty Chandler, who had when he touched the ball tonight, he made plays.
Yeah. When they got down there inside the 5 and they ran the first play and everybody knew that he was going to go up the middle to Madison and he got stuffed for like a 2-yard loss. I looked at Toots and I said, field goal. I mean, how many times are you going to run that guy into the center of the line for no gain and keep doing it? Yeah. We should mention the great GMAC. Our buddy GMAC posted below in one of these comments. He said something about the Vikings looked a little nasty tonight. They had some nasty attitude, and I think that's worth noting his comment because I agree. The Vikings had a little bit of screw the Niners. We want this game. They had a little bit of nastiness, and I think GMAC's right.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. I think the Birds, we've had a couple comments about the Birds chirping. I think they're just as happy about the Vikings beating 49ers on Monday night as anybody else.
Yeah, they're right behind me.
Absolutely.
They're chirping. They're happy. Yeah. They're a little tipsy on the stuff I gave. I gave them some gin.
Well, who wouldn't be?
I gave the Birds some gin, so they're kind of ginned up right now.
Gin is terrible, dude. I'm surprised they're not dead. I mean, damn. Gin will do that to you.
They like Long Island iced tea. They like when the Vikings and the Wolverines win. But I think GMAC's right. The Vikings played, don't you think, Chris, had a little bit extra oomph tonight? A little bit,
They did. And now Trooper 88 just brought up a comment that Ruby put on the
let's talk about that.
That goal line sequence, I think it was toward the end of the second quarter. Yeah, they tried to do the push, the brotherly shove or whatever and they messed it up the first time. So they decided they were going to try to do it again.
Why would you do it again?
And they screwed it up again and got a penalty on it to push themselves back 5 yards. That's how you turn first and goal from the 1 into a 20-yard field goal. And stop running that stupid play. The Eagles are the only ones that can execute it successfully. So stop doing it. It's dumb.
It looked terrible, Chris. It looked like it had no chance from the beginning.
No. Absolutely.
And then they lined up in it again, and I'm going, what in the hell? And I'm talking to Ted online. Ted, what are they doing?
So is there another team that could screw up a tush-push other than the Minnesota Vikings? You're
I'm
on
sure
the
there
one.
probably is.
You're on the one freaking yard line. All you got to do is push your quarterback over the goal line. And somebody earlier said
It looked terrible too. It looked like it had no chance of getting in.
And it was first and goal. You can run that play 4 times and theoretically get into the end zone somehow. I mean,
well, and somebody earlier said Ezra Cleveland lost his job tonight, and I don't know that and I'm not saying Dalton Reisner played bad. I thought he played very well. But I'm not sure that I agree with that statement. I don't know that I would go that far. And look, tush push aside, look, Kirk cannot squat 600 pounds like Jalen Hurts apparently can.
You can't.
But I don't think Ezra Cleveland lost his job tonight. Do you, Drew?
I would play Reisner. I would, just because you're coming off this high and you're coming off. He deserves to play, Reisner, but Kirk Cousins is not the guy you do the push with. He's not, Ted. He's not He's not Hurts. He's not Jalen Hurts. Also, we've had some good comments by some guy named Gwarthorpe.
Okay, Gawthorpe. Coach Gawthorpe.
Because I played with Guar a couple times in '91.
Did you really?
I played 2 shows with Guar.
Like no kidding, like for real talk.
No, I'm totally serious. I played a show in Petaluma, California with Guar, and
Did you really?
Yeah, and I want to tell you, I have never been physically scared backstage than I was playing with Guar. That is a frightening band.
I saw their videos. I was scared just watching their videos.
They're really talented though. They're really a bunch of great guys. But I saw his name and I go, wonder if this is one of the guys in Guar. I think the Vikings, man, there's so much to talk about on the good side of this game. You can't even really bring up any bad stuff, Ted. Madison, I don't know why he keeps pushing Madison, KOC. Hopefully tonight we'll let him know I got to go more to the committee. Don't you guys think?
Well, yeah. Well, and Jared Brussel, who actually donated $2 to us. Thanks, Jared. Madison had 8 carries and Akers had 10. Okay. I still, whatever. I still think out of those 18 carries, Akers should have probably had 15 and Madison should have had 3. That's just me. I just think Cam Akers brings so much more to this offense than Alexander Madison does, Chris.
I absolutely agree. Like I said, he just seems like he's a more explosive back at this point. I mean, he's not Dalvin Cook in his prime levels of explosive or anything like that, but he's got a lot more explosiveness than Madison does. At least I think so from everything I've seen. I mean, he might not have had the numbers tonight, but I think overall he's shown that he's got a little bit more explosiveness.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Ezra Cleveland, Ted? I kind of cut you off in the last segment, but
I like him. I like Reisner too. And you need depth on the offensive line. One of the things we did this week in our preview game or our preview show is sort of make fun of all the stupid internet narratives that are going around about trading everybody off.
Of people?
No. We would not. We would not. That's terrible. That's rude. And God is looking at us, and Jesus is judging us when we do that.
Trey Darisaw. What?
But one of the things that would just kind of sort of gain steam today was to trade Ezra Cleveland. And, for the love of Bud Grant, man, if you've got a good player, if you have a good player, why would you want to trade him? I mean, and now after that you've beaten the San Francisco 49ers, a team that was 5-1 coming to this game and on the short list for the Super Bowl, you don't want to trade any of these dudes, man. You're 3-4, and you've got your next 4 games look good. You got a chance to go on a run, but screw it, frickin' trade everybody. Trade Kirk for a bag of dog balls. Trade everybody. Trade everybody for 5th and 6th round picks. Whatever.
Let me try to relate this to something that people seem to have a fascination with. But
I love this show. I love it.
I'm gonna use Danielle Hunter as an example here.
Okay.
There was one of the older episodes of Family Guy. You're gonna have to give me a minute for this one because this is gonna come around to what's gonna happen. But there's an older episode of Family Guy where the 4 main characters, it's Joe and Peter and Cleveland and Quagmire, go to this timeshare presentation thing. And they sit through the timeshare presentation, and for sitting through the timeshare presentation, they get a boat, like an actual honest-to-God boat. Each of them gets a boat. So Joe and Cleveland and Quagmire take their boats, and they're happy with their boats or whatever. And Peter and Lois are sitting there, and the guy says, "You can take your boat, or you can take this mystery box." Celebrate off. It's like a Monty Hall kind of thing. And so, and Lois and the wife obviously is like, "Well, we'll take the boat." And Peter's like, "Hold on a minute. A boat is just a boat, but the mystery box could be anything. It could even be a boat." Danielle Hunter. So to give this background to the Vikings, some people are so fascinated by the idea of trading dudes for draft picks. It's like Danielle Hunter is Danielle Hunter, but a draft pick could be anything. It could even be Danielle Hunter. If you have Danielle Hunter, just keep the guy, for Christ's sake. If you have Ezra Cleveland, keep him. You're not, just because you trade a dude for a draft pick doesn't mean now you've created a hole where there wasn't one, and you got to fill that hole with the draft capital that you just acquired. And it doesn't make any damn sense. The whole trade everybody thing is just dumb.
What a great analogy Chris just had with the Family Guy.
I know it took me a bit, but we got
and then get a top left tackle. That's what it is.
Flash, the Minnesota Vikings need a pass rushing defensive end in their 20s in his prime. Flash. They got one, you idiots. But whatever. I don't know.
Chris is dead on with that. Perfect, man. Thank you.
All right, D. Cooler's kind of dumping on us tonight. He says the nonsense about Madison is mind-numbing. He had the best game as a Viking running back tonight, and he gets dumped on. Madison, 4.9 average, Akers 3.1 average. Look, part of me is just being a fan, and I think I like watching Cam Akers run. Alexander Madison's like Michael Bennett back in like 2002 and 2003. Give him the ball, he'll run 100 miles an hour right into Garrett Bradbury's butt, or he'll break it for 8 yards.
10 yards.
Whereas Michael Bennett would have busted one for 75. I don't know.
Alexander Madison started the game with a 19-yard run.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was 8 yards less than the longest run he's ever had. The longest run that guy's had as a Viking is 27 yards.
Really?
If you're going to have running back one, what have I always said to you, Ted? You got to have a guy that can take you to the house.
Yeah.
Birds are chiming in. Listen to the birds. They're chiming in.
They're not wrong.
But, I don't hate Madison, but maybe you think of him as a goal line guy. He's not even a goal line back. He can't. I understand where that guy's coming from, but I don't agree.
And like Drew said, Madison had 19 yards on his first carry tonight. The other 7 carries he picked up 20 yards.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, that one big carry was nice, but, the other 7 carries he had, not even 3 yards a crack. So
I don't want to steal from the host. Go ahead, Ted.
No, you're fine. I was just going to say, GMAC, you mentioned GMAC before. He's been like an OG commenter for us.
Yes.
And fan of the show since pretty much day one.
He's been a fan since day one.
And he has a comment that says, he said, to play devil's advocate, the philosophy is, if you're out of playoff contention, to trade guys in their last contract year and who you likely aren't going to re-sign. And that's fair. That's a very legitimate comment. I would argue at this point at 3-4 with a win over the 49ers, the Vikings are a lot of things, but they are not out of playoff contention, especially when you take into consideration what happened with the rest of the NFC North this weekend, Drew.
And to go back to what we're talking about with Hunter, since a lot of the recent trade speculation is kind of centered around him. He apparently has a clause in his contract that says he can't be franchised this offseason.
Yes.
So, and if you're going to try to trade Danielle Hunter away, nobody's going to give up anything of significant value for a dude that they're going to have for like 8 games. Because, they might sign him to extension or whatever, but Danielle Hunter has never been a free agent, and it seems weird to say this given, how long he's been with the team, but Hunter might be to the point where he has one big NFL payday left at this point with a long-term contract with somebody, and he's not going to want to give up that shot at free agency to decide what's going to be a less than market value extension with another team. So you're not going to get as much for Danielle Hunter as a lot of people think they're going to get for Danielle Hunter, just because, the team that gets him knows that he's a short-term rental, and so you're not going to give up anything of value for a short term.
You know,
Feel like that. I don't think.
I'll say this about Hunter. You watch that game tonight, Ted, Chris?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Hunter is a beast off the edge. He was eating that guy alive. If it wasn't for Brock Purdy having pretty good pocket presence and moving up in the pocket, Hunter could have had 3-4 sacks easy.
Yes.
Easy. He is a dominant defensive end because he
Yep.
he doesn't take the wide loop. He takes the closest play to the quarterback, either the inside or the outside, but his leverage is Bruce Smith-like. It is Bruce Smith-like, and it's great to watch, and I love watching it. I don't know what we're going to do with him, but, man, Hunter is – you can't just draft any guy in the draft and get that guy.
No.
He's a really good player, guys.
All right, a couple things. We got 160 people in a room watching the show tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. You're watching Vikings Report Rewind with myself, Ted Glover. Off to my internet right is Chris Gates, the owner and founder of the SB Nation Minnesota Vikings website, dailynorseman.com. And directly below both of us is my partner in crime for Vikings Report, Drew and Ted. Well, if I'm Ted, he's got to be Drew.
Nice shirt, Chris. I like Chris's shirt. Let's give a shout out to Chris's shirt.
Yeah. T. Kubler is digging in like an Alabama tick, boys. He says, okay, Gates. No, now do that with Adrian Peterson. You're talking about, you were talking earlier about Madison's runs. Dude would have 25 carries for 25 yards and then 1 carry for 70. And I'm not disagreeing about Adrian Peterson, but I'm sorry, comparing Adrian Peterson and Alexander Madison is like comparing skirt steak with ribeye. I'm sorry, you just are. You just are.
You can't. Come on. Come on now. Come on. I expect more out of people.
The words. I don't have the words. I mean, why are we trying to compare Alexander Madison to Adrian Peterson? I don't understand.
I don't know.
But
I respect T. Kubler's game in this. He has not given up.
I would take Adrian Peterson off of the set of Dancing with the Stars right now over Alexander Madison. Honest to God, I would. Oh, Jeebus. Good Lord. Just no.
Oh, man. I respect tonight.
I respect what T. Kubler is trying to say, but Adrian Peterson had some games where he, didn't have it or whatever, but he had a lot more games where he did have it than games where he didn't have it. And Alexander Madison has not had as many games where he's had it than he did. Yeah. No.
You have better chance comparing Madison to a guy like Chuck Evans who played for the Vikings. Let's start there first before we move up to – come on, Adrian Peterson. Come on.
All right. Before we go any farther, boys, so the Minnesota Vikings currently sit at 3-4. Here are their next 6 games.
Lions are scared right now.
They are at Green Bay. They are at Atlanta. They are home against New Orleans. They are at Denver. They are home against Chicago. And they are at Las Vegas. I'm not saying those are 6 winnable games, but those are 6 very winnable games, Drew.
6-0.
Really?
Book it.
Really?
And book it, Ted. The Vikings are in that locker room right now saying, ESAT Nation can kiss my ass. We are going to make a run. We are a good team. We proved it tonight. The Niners are they not the best team in the NFL?
They're close.
They're close. You could argue them. You could argue the Eagles. You could argue the Dolphins, although the Eagles beat them last night.
Well, they won this game, and it wasn't a fluke. They earned this
it was
win.
Not. They
They're
did.
on their way, and they will not lose one of those games, Ted.
There was no fluky tip ball. There was no questionable penalty. There was none of that. It was the Minnesota Vikings going out and beating the San Francisco 49ers straight up, Chris.
If anything, the Niners got the calls.
They did.
That one pass interference that was on KJ.
Terrible.
Terrible call. Yeah, I'd agree with you there. Yes.
No, the Vikings are on now. This is what we talked about. And everybody wants to trade everybody away. Like I said last week in the show, Ted, enjoy your season. Don't worry about next year. Enjoy the season. And if we beat the Niners, which I said last week, Chris, this will make us enjoy the season. Enjoy the season that you're in, not next year wondering if we're going to draft Drake May. I mean, come on. The Vikings are still in it, Chris. They are.
Absolutely. I mean, the Vikings were the better team from start to finish tonight.
Yes!
They were. You can't.
Yes, they were.
They had 120 some odd more yards than the Niners. They ran more plays than the Niners. They had a better average gain per play than the Niners. They won the turnover battle.
How many yards do they have tonight against the 49ers? How many yards? Tell me.
452 total yards.
Against the number one defense coming into the NFL, if I'm not mistaken.
I think they were number one or number two. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Bam!
All right.
Yeah.
Well, one of the top defenses in the NFL, and the Minnesota Vikings pretty much sliced and diced them all evening.
Yes. Say what you want. I believe in my boys. I believe in Flores' defense, and I believe that Kevin O'Connell figured out tonight that I can't play the wussy playbook, and we might be on a roll. We'll see. We'll see where it takes us, but enjoy your season. Don't worry about trading Darisaw. Enjoy the season.
Yeah.
We're still really in it. What are we, second place, Chris and Ted?
Yep.
One game out of first?
In the division,
yeah. And, you know, we talked at the very beginning of the show, or briefly mentioned, this weekend worked out about as well as you could expect if you're a Vikings fan and you were sitting at 4-2 on Sunday morning. The Lions lost and looked eminently beatable. The Vikings won. You know, the Packers lost. The Bears are the Bears, whatever. But this is
year. The Bears are the Bears, whatever.
This season is far from decided, and I'm sorry if you're a tank for Caleb or tank for Drake May or tank for whoever you think the Vikings quarterback of the future should be.
Stupid.
Shut up. Just shut up.
If you're a tank guy, I hope you're pissed off all week.
If you're a tank guy, I hope you get transferred to the frickin' infantry.
If you're a tank guy, you got your head in your beehole, fully engulfed. I don't want to.
Anyways,
I want to hear about. You know what? Before you end the show, I want to get each of your takes on Kirk Cousins, his performance tonight, and what it means going forward. Is he going to be back or not? Or give me a quick take on that, because I'm lost on it. I don't know.
Chris, go real quick.
I still don't think he's going to be back next season. I just think that the Vikings have tried to gear everything towards 2024. You know, they keep saying competitive rebuild, and they're still going to be competitive, but I think they realize that Kirk's not getting any younger. He's 35 years old. And like I've said in previous shows, each regime wants to have their guy that they kind of try to build around for their long-term future. They're going to sink or swim with their guys. So I think they've been aiming for 2024 based on all the moves they've made and whatnot. And I still think this is the last year of the Kirk Cousins era, but we'll see how everyone wants. Because if they go ahead and sign Cousins to an extension now, it kind of negates everything you've done to this point if you're trying to build towards 2024. So I'd be surprised if Cousins were to come back.
Chris, I agree with you, but I will also say I think this was a turning point in not only Minnesota Vikings season, but Kirk's season. He had that interception, the third play of the game.
Yep.
At the very end of the first half, he threw pretty much the exact same pass, which shows a lot of trust in Jordan Addison, who came down with the ball and housed it. And that, I think, was the game-changing play of tonight. That was the difference between winning and losing. And I think this can catapult the Vikings to, from 2-4 to now they're 3-4. If they got a very favorable schedule, let's say they go 5-1, that's 8-5, and Lord knows what happens after that. It's anybody's division. It's a long season. There's a lot of football left to be played, and the Minnesota Vikings are not only far from out of it, but if you think they should tank, you're an idiot. I'm sorry. At this point, after tonight's game, you're an idiot. And I don't know what else to say.
Okay.
All right. With that, Ruby, are you there?
Hello.
Hey.
There isn't an echo, right?
No.
Okay.
No echo.
'Cause I'm
No echo on the Bunnyman.
sitting right next to Drew. Okay, here we go.
All right.
We
Bring
have
up the wheel of destiny and spin it.
so many. Oops.
What?
Look how many people are on the wheel.
Holy
God,
Holy
that's
shit!
that thing's not even going to make it one time around. What the hell? Either.
All right.
Perfect.
Bobby Trader.
Oh,
Bobby
he
Trader.
doubled up, Ted.
Yeah.
He doubled up. He got a prize for his comment, and he got a prize. Sometimes we double up.
Yeah.
That happens.
That's what she said.
That's what it said, right? Like,
Yeah.
you need the Hubble telescope to read that thing. I mean,
Yeah. That's how many people were on in the
Bobby
chat room today.
Trader doubles up this week.
Congratulations, Bobby. Go ahead. Once again, get a hold of Ruby at Vikings Report with Drew and Ted at gmail.com. Minnesota Vikings moved to 3-4 with a huge win over one of the presumptive NFC favorites, the San Francisco 49ers tonight.
Suck it, Purdy.
On Monday Night Football, Nick Bosa, Ohio State legend, can suck it.
Nice miss, Moody.
I love Nick Bosa, but not tonight. Anyways, before we get out of here, I want to get your final thoughts, Chris, and then Drew, and then we will sign off for the evening.
I mean, the Vikings, you can't put it any other way. They saved their season tonight. If they would have lost this game, the competitive part of the season would have been over. But
yeah,
they've won this one, and like we just ran down, those next 6 games are winnable games. There's no powerhouses in those 6 games anywhere, to be honest. So, we'll see what happens from here. But maybe it's not time to just throw it all away and tank and trade everyone and whatever else. So the season just got a hell of a lot more interesting tonight than it was about 24 hours ago.
Drew?
Best game for the Vikings all season. Best play calling. They had the early turnover, but they held together and the defense played well. The Vikings played well. I want to mention that something I seen tonight that I haven't seen in the previous 6 games, Ted and Chris. There was a false start or a delay of game or something, and Kirk Cousins went ape shit back there and threw the ball into the ground and was angry as shit. I haven't seen that all year, guys. I haven't seen that all year, and that tells me that maybe the tide is turning a little bit, and he wants to win these football games. But there was a good sign of emotion. The Vikings, don't give up on them. Don't talk and trade and all this kind of stuff. Enjoy the season. 3-4. This was a big win. One of the biggest wins we've had in the last few years. Let's ride it out. Let's go. Let's go. Let's cheer
go
for our team and go.
Let's go is right. Jay Johnson, one last comment I want to make that Jay Johnson said, or observer comment. What about the Kirko can't play in prime time narrative? I think we could just kind of burn that.
It's dead.
Yeah, we can burn that with a flamethrower. That's done. It's over with. He had a great game. He won. Vikings won. Vikings, like Chris said, saved their season, moved to 3-4. They go to a stretch of their schedule. And look, we all said at the beginning of the year, if they could just manage to get through the first half of their schedule at 4-4, the second half opens up to a very favorable second half of the season for the Vikings. So let's just see how it plays out. There will be no tanking on this show. There will be no tanking until they are mathematically eliminated, which isn't going to happen because they are playing in an eminently weak division, and the Detroit Lions are going to go ahead and Detroit Lions at some point this year because they always do.
Play that funky music, white boy.
All right, we got to get out of here. It's getting late. I got to go to work tomorrow, and I'm kind of smoked. For Chris, for Drew, for Ruby, thanks so much for joining us. Please, folks, remember to like, subscribe. Drew and I will be back later this week, probably Friday or Saturday, depending on when we record, to preview the next game on the schedule, which it's at Green Bay. Defend the North contest. Our second iteration of the Defend the North contest is coming up, so pay attention to that. And we will see you later this week.
Say good night, Chris.
Good night, Chris.
Say good night, Ted.
Good night, Ted.